Most people assume that scary things only happen at night, in the dark, when you're alone and the house is quiet. But some of the most disturbing things I've ever heard about, some of the most unsettling, unexplainable encounters people have shared with me, happened in the middle of the day. Bright sunlight, busy streets, normal situations. And somehow, that makes them worse. Because at least in the dark, you expect to be scared. But when it happens in broad daylight, when there's nowhere to hide, no excuse for what you just saw, that's when you realize the world is stranger and darker than you ever thought. 3 stories tonight, all in daylight, none of them explained. This happened to my friend Jenna when she was 23 and living alone in her first apartment. Ground floor unit in a quiet neighborhood in Ohio. Nice area, good neighbors, felt completely safe. It was a Tuesday afternoon in the middle of summer. Jenna was working from home. Laptop open, coffee on the desk, music playing softly in the background. She was sitting facing the window, which looked out onto a small side yard and then a wooden fence. At some point, she looked up from her screen and saw a man standing just on the other side of the fence. He was maybe 30 feet away. He appeared to be in his 50s, gray shirt, dark pants, completely ordinary looking. And he was staring directly at her through the window. Jenna froze. Her first thought was that it was a neighbor, or someone cutting through the yard, or a delivery guy who'd gotten confused. She waited for him to move, to look away, to do literally anything. He didn't. He just kept staring. And then very slowly he smiled. Not a friendly smile, not an apologetic, oops, wrong yard smile. A slow, deliberate smile, like he had been waiting for her to notice him. Jenna grabbed her phone and called her neighbor upstairs. While she was on the phone, she looked back at the window. The man was gone. She called the police anyway. They searched the yard and the surrounding block. Nothing. No one matching the description. No signs of trespassing. The officer told her to keep her blinds closed. That night, Jenna was closing those blinds when she noticed something she hadn't seen before. In the grass just beyond the fence, right where the man had been standing, there was a small, clear area, like someone had been standing in that same spot many times before. The grass was completely flattened in the shape of 2 feet. He hadn't just been there that afternoon. He had been there before, multiple times, and she had never noticed. I need to preface this by saying I am not someone who believes in the paranormal. I'm not. I look for logical explanations for everything, and I still have not found one for this. About 2 years ago, I was running errands on a Saturday morning. Bright sunny day around 11 a.m. I pulled into a multi-level parking garage downtown, the kind with fluorescent lights and concrete walls and the constant hum of ventilation fans. Completely mundane. I parked on the 3rd level and got out of the car. As I was walking toward the elevator, I noticed a woman standing near the stairwell door at the far end of the garage. She was wearing a long gray coat, which struck me as odd because it was July and probably 80 degrees outside. I didn't think much of it. People wear strange things. I hit the elevator button and waited. While I was waiting, I glanced back at her. She was still standing there, but now she was facing me, just staring, from maybe 60 feet away. I gave her a small nod, that awkward acknowledgement you give a stranger when you make accidental eye contact. She didn't react at all, just kept staring. The elevator opened and I stepped in. Before the doors closed, I looked back one more time. She was gone, not walking away, not through the stairwell door. Just not there anymore. In the time it took me to step into the elevator and turn around, maybe 2 seconds, she had completely vanished from an open concrete floor with nowhere to go. I went back up after my errands. Spent probably 10 minutes walking around that level, trying to figure out how she had moved so quickly. The stairwell door was heavy and loud. I would have heard it. There were no other exits. I've never used that parking garage again. This one was sent to me by a man named Robert. He's in his 40s, works in construction, and describes himself as someone who is, quote, not easily rattled. He said what he saw that afternoon still bothers him more than anything that has ever happened to him. Robert was working on a renovation project in a residential neighborhood, a house being converted into a duplex. It was a Wednesday afternoon, around 2 p.m. Sunny, warm, quiet neighborhood. Most people were at work. The street was empty. He was on a break, sitting on the front steps eating lunch, when he noticed a little girl across the street. She looked to be about 7 or 8 years old. Dark hair, red dress. She was standing in the middle of the sidewalk, not moving. Robert assumed she lived nearby, maybe waiting for a friend. He didn't pay much attention at first, but after about 10 minutes, he realized she hadn't moved at all. Not an inch. Just standing there, facing his direction. He waved. She didn't respond. He went back inside to keep working, and about 20 minutes later came back out to throw something in the trash. The girl was still there. Same spot, same position, still staring at the house he was working on. Robert walked across the street. As he got closer, he noticed her face was completely blank. No expression at all. And her eyes, he said her eyes looked wrong somehow, like they were focused on something that wasn't there. He got within about 15 feet and asked if she was okay, if she was lost, if she needed him to call someone. She turned her head and looked directly at him. And in a completely flat, emotionless voice, she said, "You shouldn't be in that house." Robert said something like, "Excuse me?" And the girl turned and walked away down the sidewalk. He followed for a moment, watching her. She turned the corner at the end of the block. He went to the corner 30 seconds later. The street beyond was a straight, empty road with nowhere to turn, nowhere to hide. She was gone. Robert finished the job that week but said something felt off about the house the entire time. Tools went missing. Doors that were propped open would be closed when he came back. His co-worker quit halfway through and refused to say why. He looked into the history of the house when the job was done. It had been vacant for 11 years before the renovation. The previous family had moved out suddenly and never came back. He never found out why.